Hey Suji.
Hey Rahul, how are you?
I'm good. Welcome to the Finding Meaning in Work podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for doing this. So for people who don't know you, what is the quick bio of Suji and what are you doing right now?
Sure.
Yeah.
So I'm a founder of two brands, or co-founder should I say, Light and Glow, which is a retail lifestyle fragrance brand, and the second of which is BrandScent, which is a scent marketing agency. So in essence, I'm an entrepreneur, but I left behind my medical degree some 11 years ago, or clinical research at the time, to step into entrepreneurship by accident, but I fell into what I love and that's what I do.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
All right, so one thing that really stood out to me while reading about you and doing my research is, I can't remember where, but you gave this interview where you talked about as a child going back to Sri Lanka and stepping off the plane and just the sense that hit you, you know, the jasmine and the marigold and the spices. Yeah. I was wondering whether that memory and that evocation has something to do with what you're doing now? Or?
Deep down, subconsciously, absolutely does. So for those who don't know, I was born in Sri Lanka. I was raised by my grandmother for 2 years. So my parents were studying in London and I went back to London, or my parents took me back to London when I was 2.5. So my early memories is around Sri Lanka, being there, and we went back pretty often because that was the only family my parents had. It was just them two in London growing up, and it was those memories, those scents, and memory and scent are very much associated. So where we process scent is where emotion and memory is also processed. So it's very integral. So looking back, absolutely, temples, you go into temples, it absolutely grounds you and takes you back into a completely different place. And that's purely because of the scent. As you can close your eyes and imagine where you are. So for me, growing up around that, I didn't know the art of scent or perfumery, but getting into Light and Glow and creating Light and Glow at the end of 2015, I started to dabble more in scents, how it made you feel. And one of the reasons as a brand we grew so fast was because we were explaining it that way with emotions and storytelling and also the science behind the scents.
Yeah. So maybe before we touch on Light and Glow and BrandScent, let's go back. So you grew up so you were born in Sri Lanka.
I was born in Sri Lanka, yes.
But your parents were in London.
Yeah, so both my parents got married, moved to London, or they went out to London to do their postgrad, or undergraduate, sorry. And Mum obviously got pregnant in her first year of her engineering degree because it was just them two. She went back, had me there, and I was raised by my two grandmothers. And while Mum finished her degree, and when they both graduated, they came back and took me to London. Yeah.
So how old were you when you moved to London?
London around 2.5.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what was that like? Like being born in Sri Lanka and then moving back to London?
It was hard, and I was actually talking at a school yesterday around IWD, and just when you land in London, you don't know the language. It was a completely new culture, new ecosystem. Yes, I was young, but I was thrust into an environment, nursery, within a year where I didn't speak the language. We didn't speak English at home. And there was not many people in early 80s, so I was born in 82. There was not many people in that mid-80s that looked like me. So not only were there not people who didn't look like me, I didn't speak the language, I didn't fit in. And I so desperately wanted to assimilate and fit in. And if I couldn't, I wanted to be invisible. And that followed me for many, many years growing up in London. Soon enough, London changed and it became very multicultural, and it was, we got accustomed to it.
Yeah. And, so jumping about a bit, but right now, you are quite a public figure. You do a lot of speaking and you podcasts. So I wonder whether that notion of I want to be invisible, is that something you had to push through? And
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I can go right back to when I was at school and we had this play. It was a Julius Caesar play. It was a small part. I only put my hand up for a small part because I hated getting up on stage or public speaking. And slowly enough, by the time we went to stage, I was behind the curtains. I was delivering my lines behind the curtains. My parents were like, "Where were you?"
Yeah.
And that was how shy I was. Very much an introvert. I hated public speaking, never put my hand up. I did speech lessons, but I didn't put myself up to speak for anything. And I remember it was actually after I started Light and Glow in 2018, I was asked by the local council to speak for International Women's Day. And I turned it down at least 3 times. And they said, no, people would love to hear your story. And I loved writing and I loved reading. So because I'd done the speech lessons. So I read off a couple of sheets of paper, but it landed. People loved the story. But it took me a long time to start to make eye contact with people, to public speak and actually enjoy it. So I went from absolutely hating it, my legs shaking. I actually asked for a lectern. I said, please, can I have a lectern? Because my legs are going to shake and I do not want to deliver it just free walking across the stage. But a few years later, I started to face my fears. And that was public speaking. I hated it. So roll back 10, 11, 12 years, I wouldn't be sitting here. I would have turned it down and said, no, it's not for me.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
And when you say face your fears, was it just just getting out there and doing it?
It was. There was 2 parts to it. It was a mind game, to be honest. You need to get out of your own head. So often I had always thought to myself, I was never good enough. And I had troubles during university. So I went to medical school, but I failed in second year. And failure was something that we do not talk about at home. I was a great straight A student, got into uni a year early, and here I am 2 years later failing, asking to be repeat a year, and even moving out of the degree. I went to do a biomedical science degree, then I went back to medicine. I kind of played this continual piece in my head that I was never good enough. And that followed for many times. And in fact, growing up, I'm quite dark-skinned. That's another piece of the puzzle that comes into play where you are not good enough in that aspect. And there were so many layers to it. So here I am with this monologue in my head. When asked to publicly, who really cares about my story? Who really cares about what I do? No one. So, and funny enough, it was business the last 10 years that allowed me to find myself, become confident in my skin and in my story, so much so that if there's judgment, the problem doesn't lie with me. The problem lies with the person.
Sure.
Yeah.
And maybe going back to London as a kid, what were you like in school?
Very much an introvert. I had friends. I was social, but I threw myself into studies. I mean, there was no tech at the time. So it was box TV from 3 till 6. I'd get home and it'd be like, have you done your homework? But I love sport. I threw myself into sport. So I actually played hockey for the South of England. I played hockey from 11 through, because I wanted to stay at school. I didn't want to go home and study again. So I would do hockey training almost 3 to 4 times a week. I did netball as well. And so sports was my outlet. But it taught me team sports as well. So it taught me that camaraderie between the players. But it also allowed me to be more focused when I did study. And growing up, as I mentioned, it was difficult because I was such an introvert. I didn't get involved. I had very few friends, like very close friends, but I wasn't that social sort of person. And I was wrapped in cotton wool. Wasn't allowed to go out. I was terrified to ask if I had to go to these I was the eldest child of 3 girls.
Okay.
So I had to say yes. So that really reframes the whole thing. So here are my parents in London with very few migrants. I was the eldest. And so I had to almost set this standard for my sisters to follow suit. And so my parents were very strict. It was very authoritarian in the way they were raised. In terms of careers, they wanted a safety net for me.
Sure, yeah.
And that's, of course, because they wanted the best for me. No doubt about it. They gave me the best education, everything that they could within their means. And, so medicine was that safety net. You graduate, you get a job, it's guaranteed. And that's what I was led to believe that I wanted to do. And I did believe I wanted to do until I got there and realized, actually, this isn't what I was meant to do. Yeah.
And I mean, growing up in Mumbai, it's something I can really relate to. I did engineering for the same reasons.
Yeah.
But as you were progressing through school, was medicine always that
Yeah.
North Star? There was
Yeah.
nothing else that...
Well, if roll back to when I was 6 or 7, I loved art. I loved art and I loved writing. So legal studies, journalism was where I wanted to go. My heart was in at a very, very young age. But once I hit senior school, Mum was pretty adamant that medicine is the way to go. And soon enough, I started to believe it. So if I really go back, I'm very much a right brain creative person, trapped in this career that is very, left, I would say left brain. And yeah, but from 11 to 12, it was right. This is medicine. These are the subjects you're going to pick. And I remember coming to GCSEs, chemistry and art were in the same column. There was no way she was going to let me pick art. It was chemistry without a doubt because that was a prerequisite for medicine. And so as far as I knew, that was just drilled into us. And I think quite a lot of South Asian parents, it's engineering, accounting, or medicine. And those are, or lawyer. But my household, it was medicine. That was it. Funnily enough, we're 3 girls. We're 3 doctors.
Wow.
But my sister stuck to it. My sister's one's a GP and one's an oncologist.
Yeah.
But
But
it was just one of those things. That household was just that's what we were meant to do. They were meant to do it. They loved their job. I quickly broke out of that mold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like Mumbai, it's not even accounting or law. It's just engineering or medicine.
Yeah.
And if not, you're disowned.
Yeah.
Anyway, but how did, as a child, how did art come into your life? Like, was it painting? Was it drawing? Was it?
I still remembered, I think I was about 8, and I drew, they asked me to draw a profession. I remember drawing a lawyer with the curly wig and everything. And then also the person was holding a mic, so that kind of, I loved words, I loved writing. So that felt like a natural fit for me. And it was mainly drawings and expressing yourself. I think art allowed me to express myself without judgment. And that was an outlet for me.
Yep.
Then when that was taken away, sport was my next outlet.
Yeah. And as a child, were there any books or, avenues of art that stand out to you now, and you look back and go, wow, that really meant something back then?
I loved reading, and so I thoroughly enjoyed English literature and language. And I still remember a book I wrote of Mice and Men that really landed for me. And it was one of those ones we were reading for, and I was like, oh my God. And so I would read quite a few books and get pretty involved. I didn't like the drama side of it, so Shakespearean stuff, it wasn't my cup of tea. But thinking back, I would throw myself into books. Like I said, I didn't have very many friends. And I went to school, we lived in West London in Hillingdon Hayes, and my school was in Ealing. So it was about an hour and a half travel by public transport. So I didn't have any friends in the local area that went to the same school. So I went to, privileged enough to go to a private school. My parents worked very hard for it. But in saying that, the kids that went to that school were very affluent. So you again felt like you weren't good enough because you didn't have the means to do what they would do and go out where they would go. So I'd keep to myself.
Yeah. And then, say, getting to medicine, what was that like? What was the first few months like being at? Yeah.
Getting those grades and knowing, so my GCSE grades weren't that great, like for medicine, that is. And so I had to really work hard to my A levels to ensure that I got a conditional offer. And my sports is what got me through because it was different. There was not many people who were doing sports, and I did paragliding and things like that. So things that were out of the box for a medical school interview, say they loved it. So when I got those grades, or A level grades, it was August in 2020. And it was the most exciting thing. My parents were so proud. They would it would almost, so getting in, but getting there, suddenly I had freedom. I was living at a home. I went to a girls' school that was run by nuns. So this is co-ed, 200 people. My class was only 17. There's 250 in this lecture theatre. And we were in Mile End at that time. So a very kind of London area that I wasn't familiar with. So it was hard to juggle that social life, that suddenly I was able to enjoy going out without having to have restrictions. There were certain restrictions. My dad worked in the area, but that didn't help.
This is
but
before GPS tracking.
Oh gosh, yes. My dad had a phone placed in the flat that we were in, so a landline to make sure I was at home. But I think he was just out of fear because it was a girl. At the end of the day, he was a dad to 3 girls. But it was new. I started to discover myself, but at the same time I struggled because there was no regime, there was no kind of here, you come home, you study, you get on with it sort of thing. It was up to me. And I often think that I jump from things to things all the time. And so I struggle with having to study on my own. And that's why often, even now in the office, I go into the office because it clears my head. I cannot work from home.
Yes.
I get distracted. And so the first year rolled on, was okay. And I guess I got distracted by friends and the social life, and life just got in the way. But what I realized when I went back to medicine, having failed and going to biomedicine and going back, I realized when I completed it that it wasn't that I wasn't capable, it's because I wasn't passionate about it. I wasn't passionate enough about the subject to throw myself into the work. Whereas now, if you tell me product design or this, or I'll be up till 1, 2 a.m. doing it without even feeling tired. I'd get up and go into work with absolutely enjoying it. But I wasn't doing that back in 2000, in 2000, not 2020, sorry, 2000 I went to uni. I was about to say.
I was just going to say.
Sorry, I just realized I said 2020. No, year 2000. It was a millennium. So, it's quite a while back. And, it was a bit of a struggle.
Yeah. And so you mentioned that second year was tough for you because you failed.
Yeah.
I mean, not to kind of resurface traumas, but
Happy to talk about it, yeah.
Yeah.
I still remember getting the results. So I repeated the exams, went in to get my results. I went in by myself, and I remember the journey vividly, going on the train, and I was told that you failed the reset. So the jig is up, and suddenly the penny dropped. I was like, oh my God, I've actually got to do something else. How am I going to face the same parents that had this overjoy some 2 years ago? I'm about to tell them, actually, your world is going to come crashing down. And I couldn't do it. I couldn't tell them. I went into my room and I overdosed because I saw no way out, because I didn't want to crush them. In hindsight, I probably could have spoken to them. They would have gotten angry, but they wouldn't have wished this on me at all. But their reaction to it was pretty averse. They kind of shut themselves out. I remember going to the hospital, coming back and in recovery, but I wasn't allowed to see a psychiatrist because seeing a psychiatrist was a sign of weakness. You've got nothing wrong here. It's just get on with it and dust yourself off and go again. My parents left Sri Lanka, faced a country. They had huge resilience. I was still a young girl trying to find myself. I didn't have the resilience they did. And my mom was 16, 17 when she got married and came over. She raised 3 girls, absolute tough woman, trailblazer. But she was equally tough on us. So for me, it was a real defining moment was that September. So I got those results in August, just got myself together, my head together as best as I could. And I transferred to King's College London, still an incredible university. My grades were enough to get me into the second year of biomed, no problem at all. And I met an ally, Professor Halliday, and still remember him. He was in his late 60s and he reframed the way that I thought. He listened for the first time, and as a result of that, I thrived. I thrived at uni. I got through, finished King's, and then went back into medicine. And bypassed the first 2 years because my grades were good enough, and then straight into it. But as I was progressing through it, I started to slowly realize, and with this support of this professor, that medicine is an incredible career. Absolutely endorse it. My sisters are incredible doctors, but it wasn't for me. I wasn't cut out for medicine. And we both and when I graduated, I finished and I said to Mum, I'm not going to practice. I'm not going to do it. I can't do it anymore. and she was distraught. She was like, what is going on? Luckily, by this time, my two sisters were in medical school, so I had
She had
a little bit of pressure off.
Yeah.
But in saying that, it was tough to tell her once again, actually, I'm going to crush your dreams once more. But then but I was a little older now. I realized that this was my life. I was 25 and I need to live it. Crucial point, this is the time I was introduced to Jiva, and he was living in Sydney.
In med school?
No, through family.
Okay,
So he was living in Sydney, he graduated, he was doing some training in London, and we got introduced. And we hit it off, and I said, where are you based? And he said, oh, well, I knew he was in Australia. And he's like, oh, I'm willing to kind of move over. And I said, absolutely not. Do not tell my mom that.
Yeah.
We're moving.
Sure.
And so I left for England left for Australia in 2009 in the end. Got married in 2008 and left. And with a medical degree, there's only so much you can do. So I went into clinical research. Got a job, actually, my first job was at La Trobe, then it was at for a few months in breast cancer because that's what I majored in. And then I got a job at Murdoch Children's Research Institute. Jiva was an allergist there. He was working in the children's as well. And for a number of years rolled by. And we just kind of was like day in, day out until we started our own family.
Yeah. Wow. That's quite a story, Suji. Yeah. But I can relate to a lot of it being South Asian myself, and especially the pressure you feel. Sometimes it's definitely parents, but also on yourself.
Yeah.
And you presented with this shining North Star, and you go, okay, this is who I am, and this is what I need to follow. Not really taking stock of really who you are.
Yeah.
But when you look back at those times now, and this is something I've kind of struggled with as well. Like, how do you think about that and the role of your parents, and what's coming up for you there?
Sure.
Yeah.
Throughout life, I felt that I wasn't able to talk about it. And to be honest, talking about getting my results and overdosing is not something I spoke about until recently, only in the couple of years. Jiva knew about it, but that's it. Other than my immediate family, my husband, no one knew about it. But I realized that in speaking about it, people realize that there are quite a few of us who have been. It's a safe space, and it's normalizing that for me, it was taking that point of normalizing that failure happens and it's okay. It's absolutely fine. You dust yourself off, you get up and you try again, or you don't, but it's okay to fail. But because we don't normalize that growing up, and especially in South Asian family, you absolutely can't fail. You need straight A's, you need to be top of your class. And I see even now with my son, I've got 3 children, and my eldest is 14. And I see it when we went to an event last year or a couple of years ago for his year 6 graduation, and every other child wanted to be a doctor, a cardiologist, and so on. And I was like, there's pressure on these kids. Great if they want to, don't get me wrong, but it's often when you start to speak to the parents that it's coming from this environment of either overt pressure or, kind of subliminal pressure to this is prestige and ego around the career.
Yeah.
It is an incredible career. But to thrust that on the child, and especially when they're a child, we've got so many years ahead of us. And at that young age, and it's hard to watch. I've given my children freedom enough to know that, yes, they need an education, absolutely, but I will give you the freedom to choose what you want to do. And I've seen them thrive. I mean, my son now puts me to shame on common knowledge, and I sit there and go, oh my God, this child is actually an absolute whiz, but I've never pressured him to go study, do this. He genuinely wants to absorb information, and he's looking towards like economics and things like that. And I was like, great, but that's on your own accord. I haven't pushed you to do what I believe that you need to do. And that is the part I think I worry. Sometimes I talk to schools and youngsters, but often it's the parents that need the preaching. So,
for sure.
Yeah.
Have you read Open by Andre Agassi? It's
no,
his
I haven't
biography.
read it. No.
It's an incredible book.
Okay.
And also, what was really, I think, surprising was in the first page, he mentions how he hates tennis, and he hated tennis since the time he started playing. But he was pushed into it by his dad, who was quite dictatorial.
Right.
And then he also admits that it wasn't just that. Then that set about this momentum of compulsion and ambition, and that's something he had to take ownership of. But when he wrote the book, he wrote it from a place like his body had broken down.
Yeah.
He was a drug addict, and
Wow.
and coming out of that.
Right.
I mean, the reason I bring that up is, there is something to prestige, I think,
Yeah.
especially with careers. But if it's not for you, it could have
Yeah. Serious implications on
serious
your mental
implications.
health. The way that you operate, and suddenly you're in a career, you feel trapped.
Yeah.
Your degree is a cage, essentially.
Yeah.
I think that as humans, we need to have this sort of freedom to be able to flourish and do what. And the last 10 years has been incredible for me, being in this career. It may not have the prestige and pomp that being a doctor or working as a doctor has, but nevertheless, I'm satisfied. I'm happy.
Sure.
I sleep well. I wake up happy. So that's all that really matters.
That's better than $1 million, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
$1 million would be nice.
It's always perks to that. But I think at the time, you need to reflect and go, what do I have? Am I satisfied in life? If I were to just leave today, have I done something good? But I do believe in leaving behind a legacy.
Yes.
Absolutely. Something that your children are proud of, or your friends, family, something that people know you by. And for me, I think that goes beyond Light and Glow and BrandScent. Yeah.
I was going to ask you this question later on in the podcast, but I'll do it now. But maybe being a mother has just changed the way how you look at what you do in the world, and especially connected with your work. Yeah.
Absolutely. The shift in jumping into entrepreneurship was when I was a mother. I was 36 weeks pregnant when I started Light and Glow. And that was because when I had my eldest, Darren, I put him into daycare when he was 4 months old. I was dropping him off at 6 a.m., picking him up at 6 p.m., usually the last mum to, I'm like, hey, I'm there, and I'm paying a fine of crazy amounts because Jiva can't get out of the clinic, I'm running from the hospital. And slowly, I started to realize that my child was withdrawn from me. I was only seeing him when he sleeps and wakes. I wasn't enjoying those crucial moments in his life. And I said to Jiva, look, if we were to have another child, I can't do it now. We're going to have to wait. Something absolutely has to change. I had no idea that business was about to come, but at that time when I fell pregnant with Dylan, I was working for Breast Cancer Network in policy and development, and I was going on maternity leave, but I put myself hand up for a position, a promotion post maternity leave, and I was pipped to the post by a lawyer of all sorts. And I was like, how is it in breast cancer, in policy, that a lawyer outsees someone with my experience? Nevertheless,
Not
I
a male
thought,
lawyer.
just a legal degree. No one. She's been in policy for a short amount of time, and I thought to myself, this is ridiculous. And I started to see the glass ceilings and the biases that were very overt at the time. And I thought to myself, you know what? I'm going to get a law degree. Not because I wanted to be a lawyer at this point in time, but because I wanted to excel in policy, and I wanted to show them actually I'll come back and I'll come back bigger. So that resilience piece, that motivation, ambition that we spoke about. So I signed up for a JD course in January of 2016, but in December 2015, so a month before, I had started Light and Glow. Not knowing that I wanted to go in business, I thought it'd keep me occupied on maternity leave. So 36 weeks pregnant, registered an ABN, created a logo, whatever it was, within 24 hours, and I gave myself my first KPI. I've got $237, which is the kit that I have just bought. If I can turn it into tenfold, then maybe I'm onto something. I had no confidence because it's A, a very saturated market, and B, I had a backup plan, so I wasn't fully committed. But I did that and more because I was passionate. And I was on socials promoting it, and suddenly I was like, hold on a second, this actually has legs. This because we were explaining it differently. We had a wooden wick, we were talking about the science and what hormones it releases, so still using that medicine discipline here. The brand started to excel. So I was doing my JD course and launching BrandScent for the first 6 months of 2016 concurrently.
Wow. Yeah.
September 2016, I decided to let the JD sit. And I was like, I can't do it all.
Yeah.
I've got a newborn.
Yep.
I've got a 4-year-old. I've got light and glow and a JD. Something's got to give.
Was that a tough decision? Letting
because
it go? Yeah.
I had let go of my role that was going to, and I had let go of, again, a safety net. I was taking this risk with this business, but I had done my litmus test. It was growing. And I had my second ally, who was my husband. He said, I've got your back. I was still very much an introvert. I hated selling. I hated getting in front of people. Like people would buy, and she was like, did you ask them if they want something? I was like, no, I'm not going to ask them. Just give them what they want. So he said, you know what? Let me do it for you.
Yep.
He's an extrovert. He loves people. He made a great doctor because he was such a people's person. And he helped me. Aside from clinics, and when he had weekends off, he would do events and markets for me because I was like, I'm not doing a market. I'm not going to go sell at a market. Absolutely not. At this point, my mum was having another hissy fit because she's like, she was envisaging me door knocking, selling candles.
Yeah.
I was like, no, that's not what I'm doing. And but slowly, the business started to grow. And we got into wholesale, into stores.
Yeah.
And we decided to try different revenue streams.
Sure. So, light and glow. How did that idea come to you? And what is it?
So, Light and Glow is a candle brand, and is now actually has stepped into perfume. But at the time, it was home fragrance. And how did I get into? I love dabbling in scents and aromatherapy just at home generally. But I made some candles for my son's baby shower. So I was 36 weeks pregnant, and I gave it to friends. And it was this one friend said to me, oh my God, these are incredible. Where did you get them from? I said, I made them. She's like, they're different to what I've had purchased before. And I said, how so? And she goes, the scents feel clean. There's this, wick, the wooden wick. She goes, you need to go into business. And I said, I don't know the A to Z of business. I don't know where to start, what to do. And that's when I thought, she said, no, you must, just give it a go. And that was the nudge that I needed. And that's when I set up the ABN. It was 5th of December, 2015, when I set up that ABN, everything, opened my first Facebook page, managed it myself. And
it's incredible to remember the date of the ABN.
Because it was the 5th of January my son was born.
Okay.
Yes, exactly a month later my son was born.
Yeah. So leading up to that point, you were working in medical research in breast cancer.
Yeah.
What were you doing, sorry?
So at La Trobe, I was in research, clinical researcher.
Okay,
so that eventually developed into policy, around policy. And when I started off at La Trobe with breast cancer, then I stepped into, and I guess getting jobs here was difficult. Even though I was a Brit, getting your first job was so hard. So it was just a 3-month contract at La Trobe. Then I came across a position at Murdoch Children's Research Institute. The one I wanted, unfortunately, I wasn't offered because I didn't have the experience. But then I got one in early childhood development. And I was slowly going back to what I love, writing. So I was doing clinical research, but behind the scenes. I didn't finish my F1, F2 in London, so I didn't have my registration, and I certainly wasn't going to work as a doctor here. So, and I've never really considered myself a doctor. I've never practiced. I may have the academia behind me, but so I'd always go by being a researcher. And I did early childhood development research at MCRI for almost 8 years. And I was made redundant when I had Tharon, citing that they didn't have enough funding.
Wow.
And I full well know that they had funding. It was 40 of us in that unit. We were 2 coloured people. And I was obviously senior in that role. And 2 months prior to being made redundant, I actually trained up, without realising I was training up a junior to be my replacement. And Murdoch at that time used to do 1-year contracts. So every time that 1 year rolled around, like, oh shit, am I going to get my job? Do I ask for a promotion? Do I get this? And I was very conscious of that so I wouldn't ask for a promotion. I wouldn't ask for a pay rise. And when I was blown this and going, actually, we're not renewing. It's like, oh my God, I've got a child. They're not going to renew my contract. My world was crumbling again. And it wasn't about the money my husband was earning, but it was around the fact that my identity was lost again. And I did take them to Fair Work because it was around the fact that I wasn't flexible. How am I to be flexible when I have a 1-year-old at the time? And my motherhood was essentially used as a reason to be made redundant, although no one would admit it.
Yep.
So, yeah, and that's when I ended up at Breast Cancer Network after I got a role there. I was actually at Melbourne Uni for a bit and a few roles here and there.
Yeah.
And then before Light and Glow started, I was at an incredible organisation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So before Light and Glow started, while you were working as policy and in these research roles, how would you describe your relationship with work, with the work you were doing?
Head down.
Yeah.
I loved work. I enjoyed work. My work ethic comes from my parents. My dad was a damn hard worker, as was my mother. Whatever they did, they would throw 110% into it. So for me, work was everything.
Yeah.
So I would throw myself into my work. And I had an incredible boss at Murdoch before I moved within Murdoch and he was great. The way that, and work environment, I had no issues because I was one of those people who'd remain invisible.
Yeah.
I'd remain in these rooms. I would do the work, but people would take credit for it, or kind of the loudest voice in the room seems to always win. And I would sit there almost quiet as a mouse and just get on with life because I felt that this is just every day. And that's what it was. And I'd go about it, as if it was normal. But it wasn't normal.
Yeah.
You need to speak up. You need to ask for your rights. But I wasn't aware of, and I guess really didn't want to rub anyone the wrong way round because, like I said, those contracts come around every year, and the last thing you want to do is piss your boss off. But
Yeah. I want to talk about identity. So you've had a couple of significant identity shifts. So maybe we could talk about, say, just the shift from being an employee with your head down, getting the work done, to then being an entrepreneur. Or maybe at the time you didn't see yourself, but how did that shift take place? Yeah.
I've realized one of the most important things is reinvention, reinventing yourself. And I've had to do that multiple times in my personal life through my career. And from that child that loved art to then reinventing her to love medicine, but then to the researcher that was Suji, and then this entrepreneur, which I had no idea about. I had to figure things out but for me, I think reinvention is something that we shouldn't shy away from. Sometimes we get stuck in this notion that this is our career, this is a be-all, end-all. It's too late in life to change things. I've got kids, I can't do it. It's also a mind game. It's that voice in your head that tells you can or can't. So you are your worst enemy to begin with, and you let others get in your head too. So I've learned slowly to dull those voices and listen to myself in terms of, and reframing the way that I think was that first time when I'm Professor Halliday at King's. So he really shifted that trajectory. Then motherhood, when I got made redundant, shifted my trajectory again. And we applied the same within Light and Glow. Light and Glow started off as that in late 2015, 16. And in 2020, I had 3 kids at this point. Again, it was reinventing the business and starting BrandScent. And here we are in 26, reinventing and doing something else. So all business operating, but I think I thrive in that kind of new environment and changing. But there was also a personal shift. Going from this shy child, an introvert who hated herself, to be honest, at most times, hated the way that she looked, hated the way that she behaved, and wanted to disappear. And sometimes envious of other children and I hate to admit it, envious of my sisters, because I was always the one that was told off, always the one that was told that you need to behave, you need to do this, you need to make the tea for the uncle and aunties that come and do it and then disappear. It was like, there's 2 of them, like my sisters are there. So often I'd feel this envy, and they will say it themselves. They were definitely raised very differently to I was, but slowly letting go of that and looking inward, and business allowed me to do it. And now I'm sitting here being that ally, being that mentor for other girls and boys, or whatever pronouns you use, to look at me and go, you can. You can change. It was in my 30s that I started, BrandScent and Light and Glow and BrandScent. So anyone would think, oh my God, 30 is ancient. You can't do anything. You're told that at 17 you need to know your career, and that is it. And here I was 15 years later, still not knowing what I'm doing. Yeah. So I think it's okay not to know.
Yep.
Yeah.
And also for me, I think that transition from, employee to entrepreneur, and I've gone back and forth a few times, but I think for me it was really hard because of those behaviors that need to change.
Yeah.
Because I was so used to going to work, head down, paycheck at the end of the month, to then going, okay, I need to pick up the phone. There's no guarantee of paycheck. It comes or it goes. Did that scare you?
It still scares me.
Yeah.
It absolutely still scares me because I'm now responsible for others' paychecks.
Yes.
So as another added burden. But it's that safety net. You go to work, you get on with it, and you get money to pay your bills. You've got to put food on the table. You've got to, the kids have social activities and so many things. And it scares you because I don't like picking up the phone. I hate making phone calls to my wholesalers who know me, absolutely happy to chat. But I hate going, oh, do you need a... So I obviously have other people do it now, but at the time when it was just us and a small team, you have to get comfortable with the uncomfortable. And it's not easy.
Yes.
It's absolutely not easy.
Yeah.
But it is a muscle. It's with practice.
For sure.
So the more you do it, you train it, it suddenly becomes easier. I'll pick up the phone and just ask, what's the worst they can say? No, don't need it now. Or go, actually just cut the line. If it's a cold... Not that I still don't do cold calls, but I still struggle with those. But even then, I started to realize when I work with the sales team, and they go, oh yeah, I don't mind cold calling. And I was like, tell me why. She goes, it doesn't affect me. Like they say, no, sure, move on. And I guess it takes a certain type of person to be in that sort of role. But it is scary, leaving behind a paid gig. And especially during COVID and post-COVID and the last 18 months in retail has been shocking.
Yes.
The number of stores that have had an extensive history have folded, and honestly, it's not been easy for us too. We've had to downsize and let go of certain staff, and it's those decisions. It grows you as a person, facing those constraints, but I would never say any of those comes naturally to me.
Yeah. I 100% agree. And also I think especially with young people, they get bogged down with this conversation on authenticity. And this doesn't feel authentic to me. But I mean, I read somewhere that, you need to start with the impact you want to create and work backwards from that.
Yeah.
You don't really know what you're capable of.
No, you don't. And it was something you touched on earlier, motherhood. Prior to motherhood, I would sleep for 8 hours and still feel tired. After motherhood, I was grateful for getting those 2 hours naps in between, waking up in the middle of the night. And it shows your stronger self.
Yes.
Because you've got to be selfless. Yeah. And I believe motherhood trained me to be an empathetic leader. And that's how I lead my team. And the situations that I've faced in my previous role has made me, when it comes to my staff, if they need to leave at a certain time to pick up their kids, I have no judgment. I was judged continually previously, and if they want a flexible workplace, happy to do it. And all of those parts of my leadership has come from the experiences that I've had, and I would also say massively due to being a mother. Yeah.
Cool. So maybe touching on with, say, this transition then from a business perspective, from Light and Glow to BrandScent, how did that happen?
Sure.
Yeah.
So Light and Glow was tracking along 4 years into Light and Glow.
And that was primarily a candle?
Yeah, so we're a manufacturer. So we're Australian-made manufacturers. So we manufacture all the products, and we're based in West Melbourne.
Yep.
We manufacture candles, reed-diffused home fragrance that are stocked in boutique stores across Australia. And we go global as well. And we were starting to go global when COVID hit, which that was an interesting time. But at the same time COVID hit, we started to realize there was this need for to do something different. Candle brands, so many of them. There's such a saturated market. Yes, we got cut through, but we realized there was this element of scent marketing. We understood scents enough to know how hormones and how it makes you feels and emotions, and we had that experience. So we thought, how about we make this a B2B, a service-based option? We knew that hotels were doing it, have been doing it for donkey's years, but there were not many other brands that were tapping into it. You know, you wouldn't really associate a sporting club or CPA or something like that to have a scent. But we started to realize there is benefit in having that because it builds an identity. Yes, it's not tangible, but it's still an identity, a scent identity that is far more powerful than a visual.
For sure, yeah.
And so what started off as just promotional merch then became this scent marketing agency as because we were scenting spaces and places and they were all closed in 2020, 21 and we're like, okay, we'll just shift into promotional sort of products. But 2022 is really when it started to take off and we really found what we were doing, and this a scent marketing agency.
Yeah, wow.
And then, as I mentioned, we'd moved into this new big warehouse. We were like, oh my God, like cash flow was stagnant because of post-COVID and everything that happened, because it was a nice to have. A candle was a necessity. Is it bread or butter or is it a candle? So, yeah, we started to realize there were issues there, and that's when I was like, okay, how do I think of marketing? Let's be strategic. I don't have the budget, but I need the eyeballs, and that's where Shark Tank came about. Yeah.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, as I was saying before we hit record, that you're on Shark Tank. You can look it up on YouTube.
Yeah.
But this, to me, this seems like a pretty unique value proposition for businesses. How did you convince them that, hey, you need a pretty much a scent logo?
Yeah, and that's the hard piece because often I'm talking to the CMO, they love it.
Yeah.
Then I take to the COO and they're like, well, where's the ROI?
Yeah.
And so you're talking to a creative, and it's a hard sell because they can't see or touch and they don't know. But once they understand the research, we've had to present a lot of case studies. Often we've had to take risks. For example, with Shandon, when we explained it to them and we pitched to them, took us a number of months to get it across the line because they're like, oh, I don't know if it will sell. I don't know. So what they did, we created a scent based on one of their most iconic products, which is a spritz down in the Yarra Valley winery. And a lot of their clients are tourists. They can't take a bottle of alcohol, or how many bottles can they take back? And so we said to them, look, and you also do pop-ups, you do activations around the place, and how do you take that scent of Yarra Valley or that, winery scent? And we pitched to them, they were like, yep, I understand the concept, but I just don't think it's going to work. And we said, look, we'll take the risk. We will print the boxes, we will do this. And we took some of the risk out of it. And now they're a long-term client, absolutely incredible people. But so in essence, unfortunately, sometimes we've had to take a bit of the risk, take a bit of the hit where we're confident it's going to work. Others have jumped on board. They completely understand because, they've been in the world of marketing where scent marketing has been around. They've moved different roles. But often I say ROI is not return on investment. It's return on imagination.
Wow.
Yeah. So how wild is your imagination?
Yeah.
And so that's how I spin it, and people go, okay. And it works with the creatives, but not so much with
the
left brain.
Yeah.
My husband was just like, so we stick to our lanes, very yin and yang. So I look after the creative bit, and he gets in there with the sales bit. So yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
And you mentioned Jeevan, your husband. What's it like working with your husband?
Well, we worked not together, but we worked in the same building for a number of years at World Children's Hospital. And as I mentioned, when we started the brand, he was the person supporting me as I grew Light and Glow. And his work was getting very tough. And during COVID, it was exceptionally tough. So in 2020, both brands were starting to grow. And I said, Jeeva, you're going to have to make a decision. And in 21, he left his medical career behind as well. Yeah. And so we operate in the same building with in each other's pockets 24/7. We do have our own sort of things that we do. He has his cricket and I have things that I do. But because we're two different people, when we stay in our lanes, I think it works. It works, absolutely works. We've both grown the brands, and so much so we've now split the two brands. So I call the shots in Light and Glow, he calls the shots in BrandScent. But in saying that, there's a huge overlap in what we both do. We work together. So he looks after international for Light and Glow. I look after the creative for BrandScent. And we work in unison, and I think it's a partnership. COVID brought us close together, but I think it's not for everyone. It's for us because we've done it all. We've done it from the day we got married.
Yeah. I mean, do you have rules that, if whatever happens in the business stays in the business or anything like that?
Well, you try as much, but it's impossible to say that. We're often talking about the business quite a bit, but our children ground us, that's for sure. They're and often when I'm sleeping and he starts at like 11 o'clock going, hey, and I'm like, no, absolutely not, stop. So you need to draw lines and go, it's not, but we love it. So I don't see it as a huge issue, but at time, but like I said, we set out time to do things that, aside from the business, that helps us stay focused.
Yeah. And so now, you've got two brands now, Light and Glow and BrandScent.
Yeah.
What lights you up about them?
What lights me up? Product development.
Yeah.
I love creating new products to Jiva's detriment. He goes, we don't have the budget, can you stop? But I throw myself into it. I love it. I love design. So within Light and Glow, we're starting a new, it's not new essentially, we're separate. We launched perfumes last year and they've gone gangbusters. People love the personal perfume. And what we've done now is created almost a separate identity within Light and Glow for the perfume line, because the name Light and Glow and perfumes just doesn't resonate. And so Aham perfume, and Aham means soul in Tamil. And then it's actually used across multiple languages. And this is about going back to the jasmine, the marigold, the heritage-led brand. So I want a heritage-led brand that speaks to my culture, and that is launching in May. So the branding's done. So I threw myself into its branding last year, and it's going to be a perfume house that sits under Light and Glow, but is separate. And within BrandScent, we're creating this scent tech, which is around health. So it's coming a full circle with
back to medicine,
medicine and scent. Two worlds that would not often collide, or you wouldn't think for the layman, but here we were like, we can absolutely collide. It works in nursing homes. We've seen it work. We've proved it works. How about we take it further? So
in what way?
So in scent, nursing homes and aged care centres, the biggest problem is that residents are irritated. They're not taking their medication. They don't eat. And as a result, staff are leaving. So the bottom line's being affected. How do we keep the staff on? Well, we treat the irritability by pumping a relaxing scent through the area. Secondly, we get them to eat. So we have a scent that increases satiety. And so now they're eating. They are relaxed. They're more compliant. They take their medication and staff are fine. So we've gone that and we've seen it work. And so we realized, hold on, we can develop this further. And so we're doing a bit of R&D at the moment, so it's a bit hush-hush, but hopefully 27 we'll start to see things develop. Wow, so like I said, every 4 years something happens and we change. We do something a bit different, so yes.
Perhaps drawing a long bow here, but I think when I read that interview of you describing every time you landed in Sri Lanka, and I could almost smell it myself. And it seems like there is a very distinct causal line between that and what you're doing now.
Absolutely, and I think you're right. You probably hit the nail on the head. It seems to come back to that. And I think growing up, I was ashamed of my culture because there was one temple that we'd go to. It was a very small one, and vibhuti, like my mum would put it on before I go out, and I'd rub it and then go into it because the last thing you would want to stand out. So shying away from that, and especially in the 80s, like at least now you can wear a sari and go out and people don't blink twice because they know where it's from. That time no one understood. It was very hard to kind of wear it, like I'd be wearing kind of South Asian clothing, and I'd want to go put fuel in, and I'm like, oh shit, I don't really want to get out with these clothes. Sorry, I don't want to get out in these clothes and pay for it because I'm going to be judged, and all of these things that play in your head.
Yes.
I played the most un-South Asian sport. I played hockey, things like that. My mum wanted me to...
This is field hockey.
On turf, And my mum wanted me to learn the Vuna, and I would resist. I did. I learnt it, but I was... and play in the temple, but I resisted everything to do it. But now I find myself drawn to every bit that I resisted. And unfortunately, because I raised my children here in Australia, Darren was born in 2011, it was almost back when I was born in England. I feel like Australia's around 20 years behind. And I made the same mistakes. I didn't teach in Tamil. I spoke to him in English because I thought he would cope better when he was at... because I didn't want him to suffer like I did. So we only spoke English at home. Even though Jiva and I now converse in Tamil, but with my children, and so they don't know how to speak the language, which is so frustrating when I look back, and the younger ones are now watching movies, and I was like, that's probably not the best way to learn, but they're wanting to go to Tamil school and learn and things, but I pulled my children away from that culture. And that was as early as, as recent as 2011. But it's only in recent years that I've started to realize actually there's more power in that. That is my advantage. It's actually not my disadvantage. And I'm hoping that I can change the way that my children see it. They already do. They do embrace the culture, absolutely. But the language and, yes. And so much so, if I go back to London, we're miles ahead. Children, my younger cousins, actually much younger than myself, they speak the language, they write the language, they're very much involved in cultural programs at university as well and things like that. And I just wish I had that or had the courage to embrace it. Yeah.
Cool. So the name of this podcast is Finding Meaning in Work.
Yeah.
When people ask me, what do you mean by that? I draw on a definition by Frederick Buechner that I've kind of adapted, and what he says, it's where your deepest gladness meets the world's deepest hunger. How would you... what does meaning in work mean for you?
For me, I believe that it is around what you're known for, the legacy that you can do, the social impact around work. So there's a commercial impact. A business has to be viable and commercial, granted. But I think there's more power in the social impact that we can provide in the work we do, because what that commercial impact provides the business itself is a platform. How are you going to utilize that platform? And that's when you find true meaning in work. And for me, in the last couple of years, stepping into the role of as mentors, and I've had worked with places like Foundation House where we have refugees and migrants working, giving them that first job. I wasn't afforded that opportunity, and I'm now affording it to people who don't speak the language, struggle far more than I had. I wasn't at that disadvantage. I came from England. There are people who are far more disadvantaged. So giving them that platform, stepping into the chair as small business council, Ministerial council, being that voice for founders that unfortunately I don't believe there was before, being female, a person of colour. And so I believe meaning in work is actually providing a much more meaningful purpose to your life. And through work. And Light and Glow and BrandScent, or business entrepreneurship, has provided me that, because I don't believe that I would have had any sort of platform, whether I was a doctor, whether I was a researcher, whether I was in policy. Any of those would have given me the platform or the voice to providing almost a, I wouldn't refer to it as a beacon, but certainly someone to look up to.
Or provide an example.
Not even look up to exactly that.
Well, Suji, thank you so much for coming all the way here and being on this podcast. Really appreciate it. And thank you also for being so open and
That's okay.
and generous with your story.
No worries. Thanks, Rahul. I appreciate it.
Really appreciate it.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you for listening to this podcast. If you're enjoying and are learning from this podcast, please subscribe on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify. A great zero-cost way to support us is to leave a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. If you are feeling extra generous, it'd be great if you could leave a comment or feedback on our Apple Podcast or YouTube pages. Or you could email your comments and feedback to me directly at rahul@disruptivebusinessnetwork.com. That's RAHUL @disruptivebusinessnetwork, all one word.com. Finally, a big shout out to our producer Dan Scahill for his work on the keys and to Vashti Civil for writing the original music for our theme. Until next time, this is your host, Rahul Sohn, signing off. Bye.